All right, welcome in another episode of the Empty Gym podcast. Adam could not make it with us today due to some scheduling conflicts, and then I'm out of town during the weekend, so we just kind of had to get one in after missing last week. But Mikey T's back with us. Mikey, always good to have you.
Glad to be back on the empty gym. Nowhere I'd rather be. Let's do it.
Yeah, today actually marks the first official day of college basketball practice, so boys are juiced up, amped up a little bit. Thought we'd get a pod out, and we missed our mid majors last week, so we'll kind of try to fly through that a little bit, and then get to our SEC preview for our first Power Four, or I guess Power Five for college basketball. Not Power Six anymore, but I digress. Power Five
Yeah.
previews.
Didn't think
So,
about it like that, but yeah, it's now just back to Power 5.
yeah, and you got Power Four for football, Power Five for basketball. But yeah, so we'll get going with the SEC. But first, uh, actually, I will say, as much as I've loved having Adam on and everything, and I think this is only the second one. Or maybe third. I think me and you did one together a couple years ago with just us, and me and Luke Bentley did one just us a couple years
I know
ago.
that one. It was about Northwestern basketball in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
I was tuned into that one because
Yeah.
I was very conflicted with that Northwestern Boise game, and I was like, let me hear what Bentley has to say.
Yeah, but I think this is only the third one we've done without Adam, or that I've done without Adam. And I will say I'm not super upset that he's not here, strictly because if he was here, we would have had to talk Bears for a good 10 to 15 minutes. And I really just don't have the energy for that right now with how bad they are. So, uh, yeah, but Adam will be back next week. Probably should be. Hopefully, we'll get one out next week. Uh, yeah, we're back to three people in three time zones, so it's tough, but
College.
yeah, but we'll try to get one out next week and get Adam back on. But anyways, let's get into some mid majors, shall we?
Let's do it, man.
I'll start it off with what's been well documented as probably your second favorite conference in the country outside of the Big East. You're a New York guy. You love the Big East, but
Of course.
something about out west, something about it just gets you going, and that's the Mountain West. And I'll just give you the floor first off to just kind of share your feelings about the Mountain West. Last year had 6 teams in the tournament. Not a whole lot of success in the tournament besides San Diego State getting to the Sweet 16. Utah State won a game, but got 6 teams in, and 4 of them lost in round one or in the first 4 for Boise State. But you're coming off a year where over half the league got in. How are you feeling about your Mountain West, Mikey?
I mean, with over half the league in the tournament, can you even really consider it a mid-major at that point? No, but overall, it was very conflicting because the Mountain West did get 6 teams, which was great. Like, I love Mountain West basketball. I'm a junkie. I'll stay up after midnight to watch those games. But at the same time, my favorite conference kind of got screwed over because they got 6 teams in, and then you look at the Mountain West in the tournament, and the results weren't great. So I'm still a Mountain West guy. I'm not going to switch up just because of the NCAA tournament, but I would have liked to see a couple more Big East teams in, maybe replacing those Mountain West teams. Gonna be completely honest.
Yeah. Well, like we said, very good year for the Mountain West last year. Did get 6 teams in. One of them, like I said, Boise State, only the first 4, but still 6 teams in the field of 68. 7 teams if you include UNLV into that group with San Diego State, Utah State, Colorado State, Nevada, New Mexico, and Boise State, and also UNLV. So you got 7 teams, well over half the league, 7 out of the 11 with 20 plus wins. So a lot of good teams last year. Looking to be like a pretty good year again for the Mountain West.
Yeah. The Mountain West returned some. Excuse me. Fuck.
You're
I
all right?
like choked on my own saliva, and I was like trying to stay locked in, and it took me for a turn. No, but the Mountain West, I think they're gonna. I don't know shit about.
All right, so Mountain West has you bring
We gotta edit this.
uh
We'll
I'm
say
not
like something lagged.
I'm not the best editor, so I'll try, but we'll see. This might be this might stay in. But anyways, Boise Mountain West, Boise State, kind of the headliner this year, bring back two all conference front court pieces, Omar Stanley, Tyson Dagenhart, got a really good front court there in Boise State. Leon Rice been there for like almost 20 years, I think. So he's got a good program over there. Uh, the one of the big freshmen from last year, Andrew Meadow. I know he was a popular guy mainly for his looks. If you remember him, he was the long blonde hair with the glasses.
Oh
Just
yeah.
goofy looking dude. They're looking for him to kind of take a leap this year, and then they do bring in from the NAIA level. Javon Buchanan from Indiana Wesleyan averaged 21 a game, 7 rebounds a game. Going to try and see if that can kind of translate to the Division One level. The NAIA level does have a lot of good basketball players, and you could argue a lot of teams better than D3 and D2 teams. So there's something I can't remember what it is with NAIA, but something how it works. Like I think they can get paid in a different way, or they get scholarships, whereas D3 and D2 don't, or like they can get full scholarships. I don't know exactly what it is, but NAIA has a lot of good talent. Javon Buchanan, one of those guys, trying to come up to the Division One level, see if that kind of translates. But Boise State's kind of the leader in the clubhouse in the preseason, coming off a pretty good year last year. They would have liked to have a little bit more success, but they bring back some key pieces.
Yeah, yeah. They're a very good team right now. I mean, they kept Dagenhart and Omar Stanley, and that's going to be just a very good front court. And I don't think any sort of other Mountain West team really could match up with that sort of size. But I kind of look at it like this: like in college basketball nowadays, rosters change every year with NIL and the transfer portal. I'm kind of like more so looking towards like what coaches I trust in the Mountain West and the brand I trust in the Mountain West. And that team's San Diego State. I mean, Brian Dutcher is a great coach. He's been to the second weekend back-to-back seasons, obviously went to the national championship in 2023. And, we usually see a San Diego State team that keeps a lot of talent. But this year, they really hit the portal hard. I mean, obviously, the big guy they got was Nick Boyd from Florida Atlantic, who was a solid role player for them. But I just think I just trust the coach. I trust that they're going to have a lot of good scorers and a lot of good defense. So I kind of like San Diego State just because they've dominated that conference for years, and I trust Dutcher to put out a really good team.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that you say that. I didn't really think about that before, but like in this era, with everything changing, uh, having coaches that you know are successful and have been successful is a big part of that. About uh, trying to find the words for this, but like maintaining that success, or like look at San Diego State, not projected to win the Mountain West by a whole lot of people. Projected to be like a good team, obviously in the Mountain West, but not expected to be kind of at that high level, that top tier level. Whereas people are kind of buying into Boise State a little bit, buying into Nevada, buying into New Mexico, and SDSU kind of fell down the list a little bit. But I mean, they're the only team to go to the second weekend last year. They broke the streak of like winning a game in the first round 2 years ago. Where what was it, like 6-7 years, something like that, since a Mountain West team had won a game in the tournament, and then they go to the national championship game 2 years ago now, and the Sweet 16 last year. Having a coach that you can trust and a program that you can trust is very important. That Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say I agree. And on that run to the national championship, they beat some pretty darn good teams. I mean, they beat the number one overall seed Alabama, who lost 2 games the entire season. So I mean, I just think Brian Dutcher is a great head coach. They always defend well. They're gonna find a way to finish top 3 or 4 in that conference, and they're gonna find a way to be at least, like, worst case scenario, in my opinion, an 8 seed. So yeah, I mean, I like San Diego State, even though they did lose a lot of talent.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they bring in Nick Boyd from FAU, so that's kind of a good. FAU just uh, runs it back last year with all those guys from the Final Four team, and just never really got there like we thought they would. And now everyone's kind of in different places. We'll get to that as we go through these previews and stuff. One of
Major.
Yeah, one of those guys being Nick Boyd, who goes to FAU. You got some talent at San Diego State, and I think it'll be pretty good. That they will be pretty good. Nevada's another team that I'm kind of interested in. I mean, they had that brutal round one game against Dayton, blowing that, what was it, like 17-point lead, something like that.
With like 7 minutes to go. It was,
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. Do you remember? I don't know if you were there because you were busy doing other stuff. No, actually, no, that's not true. You were good the first day. Friday, Saturday is a different story. But it was like I think Nevada was up 18. It was the largest lead of the game. I say to JP, I'm like, yeah, this game's over. Or I said something along those lines. I completely jinxed it. Like, literally, Dayton goes on an 18-0 run to tie it, like, right after I say that, in like 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And so, Wolfpack, it's on me. Gonna put it there. No, but yeah, that was a brutal loss. And, they also, like, a lot of these Mountain West teams lost a lot of talent. They were able to keep Nick Davidson, which was really good, but, that was a really tough loss, and you hope that doesn't linger over into this season.
Yeah, they do bring back 3 starters, like you said, kind of headlined by the redshirt junior Nick Davidson. Steve Alford's another guy that a coach I trust in the Mountain West. He went to UCLA, or he was at New Mexico forever. Had a lot of success there. Gets the UCLA job. Has success there with that Lonzo Ball team in 2017. I think
2017.
That they were Elite Eight, right? Against
No, they lost Sweet 16.
They were Sweet 16, lost to Kentucky.
Remember that
was it?
Hobson ball game was a great game.
Yeah, but he's had success in the Mountain West. Now he's at Nevada, kind of building that program up. So that's a team I'm excited about. I went with we're gonna do conference champions. We'll go kind of deeper in with like a deeper dive with the power conferences and do a little bit more like coach of the year, player of the year type stuff. But we are doing conference champion picks for a couple of these mid-major conferences. But I'm kind of going with a little bit of a dark horse for my mid-major, or for my Mountain West champion. I'm going with New Mexico. They lost some talent. You got Lil Ricky out there in New Mexico. The pit is insane. You did lose some stars from last season, like I said. 3 of your top guys that average double digits. Jalen House graduates. Jamal Mashburn Jr. goes to Temple. JT Toppin, who was a freshman who they thought was going to be really good, maybe even NBA level good, ends up going to Texas Tech. So that's something they kind of got to work through. They do bring back their point guard, Donovan Dent, and big man, Nelly Jr. Joseph. And then you looking for a jump from Mountain West 6th man of the year, co-6th man of the year, Mustafa Amzil. See if he can kind of take that leap to becoming a starter in that league. And then bring in a couple transfers. You got CJ Nolan from North Texas, a guard who averaged 11 points a game. and Philip Borovikinen, I think is how you say it, Borovikinen.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to say that name either. So.
Yeah, big man. I believe he's going to be a junior. Couldn't really crack the rotation at Arizona. They always have a lot of really good bigs, so understandable there. But I think he's a guy who can kind of step in and play a big role for New Mexico, maybe off the bench. But still, regardless, I got New Mexico as my Mountain West champion. Kind of a sleeper pick compared to those like some of those teams, like we said, like Boise State, who's getting a lot of hype, San Diego State, who's been there, done that before, Nevada, who's pretty good, but going with New Mexico for my conference champ.
I like that pick, and I like Little Rick. I think he's a great coach, and he's done a really good job kind of rebuilding New Mexico. Everyone's super high on Boise State. I'm not crazy about them. Like, yes, they have that really good front court in Dagenhart and Stanley, but I mean, just looking at their rotation, I mean, there's a lot of unknowns. So I think they're going to be a tournament team because I think Leon Rice is a really good head coach, and they do have some good talent returning. But I also like the New Mexico pick, and I'm going to actually throw another dark horse at you, UNLV. And UNLV, yes, they lost a lot of talent, but they returned their leading scorer, Dayton Thomas, who had a fantastic freshman season with them. And they bring in a lot of transfers. They bring in what's his face? Bedford from Oral Roberts. I'm looking at the fucking list. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, that's all right.
Give me the podcast. I'll edit it.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, but they bring in a lot of talent. They bring in Dayton Thomas, Rob Whaley Jr. What the fuck are these guys? I know Thomas Jr., but I don't know. I am the worst person ever. Oh, fuck me, Avi. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you have to edit this because I don't know how.
Oh, dude. Okay. How long do we have on this?
Unlimited.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I'll find a way. I'll find a way to edit this. All right. I'm just gonna say I'm rolling with the Aztecs because I like the coach, I like the defense. And 3, 2. I'm gonna start laughing. Dude, I gotta like phone in because like I can't. I have a problem. Like if I like look, I just like start laughing, and it's a problem, and I gotta do something about it. But all right. So yeah, I'm going with the Aztecs.
3, 2, 1.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna roll with the Aztecs. I like the coach. I like the defense. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if they're gonna win the regular season Mountain West, but I do think they are gonna be the most feared team out of the Mountain West and probably the best seed come March Madness. So I am gonna go with San Diego State.
All right. So Mountain West. I got New Mexico. You got San Diego State.
Aztecs.
We'll move on to the Valley. A lot of coaching changes, like we talked about a couple weeks ago with Adam. Darian DeVries from Drake goes to West Virginia. Josh Schertz from Indiana State goes over to SLU, takes Robbie Avila with him. And
Isaiah Swoop.
Yes. Brian Mullins from Southern. Actually saw him at a clinic yesterday. He's with DePaul as an assistant now. So a couple new faces in the Valley. One guy who did stay, Brian Wardle. He's been kind of rumored the last few years. When is he going to make the jump up to the Power 5 level? Not yet, at least. He stays. You bring back Darius Hannah and Duke Dean. You do lose Malavi Leons and Connor Hickman. Leons end up graduating, played in the summer league. I don't know where he ended up. And then Hickman, your leading scorer from last year, transfers to Cincinnati. So
I like Cincinnati. I mean, that's a conversation for another time, but I think we'll get into that later. But I really like them.
shout out CMOS.
Connor Hickman.
Yeah. Christian Davis is a guy that is kind of got to take a leap for Bradley. Has to jump up into that not quite Malavi tier. I think you're hoping Darius Hannah can kind of take over Malavi's role a little bit. They're kind of similar players, lengthy, big men who uh, can be on the perimeter, not necessarily great shooters, but are competent from behind the 3-point line. Really athletic bigs. So Christian Davis is kind of an undersized guy, can be a guard, but he'll probably have to play more of a front court role for them. Zeke Montgomery comes back after a year at Rhode Island. The Marfo for him coming back, and Bradley was the best defensive team in the Valley last year. Losing Leons, who was a Missouri Valley Defensive Player of the Year, could hurt them, but feel pretty solid about Bradley being at the top of the league.
Yeah, I think they're going to be very. I mean, it's always tough losing your top two scorers, but you got to look at it this way. Pretty much any team that's good is going to lose all their best scorers. I mean, Indiana State lost pretty much everyone. Drake lost Tucker DeVries, who's pretty much that entire team. And yeah, there wasn't a whole lot else to be excited about in the Missouri Valley. So I do like Bradley at the top of the Missouri Valley. I also like Northern Iowa, and they have like probably the weirdest situation at head coach. I mean, Ben Jacobson probably could have taken a Power 5 job 10 to 15 years ago. He stayed there. I feel like Northern Iowa is going to kind of have a renaissance. They're also returning a couple starters. Trey Campbell was very good for them. I think Northern Iowa is going to be at the top of the valley this year.
Yeah, I was going to get to them next. They bring in a lot of transfers. They lost 7 guys in the portal last year. Not something that normally happens at UNI, but like we said, in this new era, they had to get and 2 of those guys being their top scorers transferred away from the program. But they bring in a lot of talent from the portal. Or not new coach. That's Drake. I was mixing that up. But yeah, like you said, with Ben Jacobson, a guy who has been rumored to be around like getting that jump to the mid-major or to the high major level several years now and still keeps staying at UNI. So one of those cool stories where you have someone sticking around at that level. You can tell he really loves that program and everything. So excited about UNI. I think they could definitely contend for the Valley. Drake, brand new team.
I don't know anything about Drake, to be honest with you.
Yeah, me neither. I don't know shit about any of this, but they got a brand new team after Darian DeVries leaves for West Virginia. A sleeper team in the Valley that I do want to talk about. I think they're still a year away, but I'm not going to count them out this year. Who am I going to say?
You're going to say Evansville, the Purple Aces.
No, I'm
really?
not.
No.
I think they could be good. Shout out Rags down there.
I thought that's why you were going to say that, because he's over at Evansville.
No, I hope that they do well. I don't think they're going to do well. I know they got a locker room cancer over there in Connor Turnbull. Just kidding, CT, if you're listening to this, but I don't think you are. So it's cool. But my dark horse sleeper, Illinois State, Ryan Peden down there. He's going to get that turned around quick. Like I said, might not be this year, but I feel solid about them contending in the Valley, at least being the top half of the league team, caliber team. And then because I don't think Peden's at ISU for long. I think he's getting a big job soon, but they struggled immensely from behind the 3-point line last year. bring in some transfers to kind of offset that. You got Jordan Davis, the brother of Johnny Davis, Wisconsin transfer that sat out about a third of the year last year. Never could really quite get going. Same with Brandon Lieb, transfer from Illinois. So you had two high major transfers that missed extended periods of time with injury. Johnny Kinsinger was a great freshman guard for them last year. He comes back probably his last year at ISU if he plays like he did last year, because then he's going to get picked away like Hickman did to Cincinnati. And then you bring in a guy like I got the opportunity to watch ISU practice this summer, and you can definitely tell that Pedon's a coach that will get that program turned around and end up at a new job pretty quick. So that's kind of my sleeper team there, but got to go with Bradley for the conference championship. I just think that in a league that saw so much change, and not to say that they didn't, losing their two best scorers, their best defender, and then losing two key guys like that is tough, obviously. But in a league with so much change, you keep Wardle, you keep Duke Dean, who's a Valley Player of the Year type guy, you keep Darius Hannah, who's a first-team Valley type guy. I think that Bradley's pretty much got the Valley locked up. It's going to be a competitive league for sure, but I think that they got a pretty good shot at winning the Valley and getting back into the tournament.
Yeah, I have to agree that Bradley's probably the favorite, but I am going to stick with Northern Iowa. I just, again, like you said, they got a lot of good transfers. They got Trey Campbell back, who was a solid three-point shooter for them. I think, and just with their coach, I think it's going to come down to them and Bradley. I think Illinois State could make some noise. I think Belmont could make a little noise, but I think it's going to be UNI. I think they're kind of due for the tournament. I don't know. When's the last time they've been in the tournament? It's been since 2016,
17, something like that.
It's been a long time. That's almost 8 years ago.
Was that when
the Jesperson shot? Yep.
Yeah, when they were playing Texas.
Yep. I think that's the last time they've been in the tournament, and I just feel like they're due. I feel like they're always like top 4 or 5 in the Valley, so I think they're going to get the auto bid this year out of the Valley. I don't have much research to really back that up. It's a gut feeling. I'm rolling with the coach. This is unpaid. Sue me. I don't have, I don't have everything about UNI, but
yeah. Let's speaking of not having a whole lot of research, let's pretty much fly through these next two conferences. A10.
We're just having fun.
Yeah. I swear we have
we'll get Link to watch it, and then someone else, maybe some random Twitter guy shit on this podcast.
I think one of our highest demographics was in Indonesia. So to the guy out there listening, appreciate you. But
or the sex bot out there.
Yeah.
Whatever you are, thank you.
Probably more likely that. But
thanks for the listen.
A10, Josh Schertz, SLU, Robbie Avila, Swoops kid. I'm going Dayton.
No, I Dayton's always the favorite, but I gotta say, man, this Indiana State team, just watching them at Hinkle as we did,
that was electric.
And the Tree faithful were out and about, but now we're at St. Louis, and I think, he didn't return everyone from Indiana State. Like Conwell went to Xavier, who was, by the way, he's money from 3. But he got Avila and Isaiah Swoop, 2 guys who averaged over 15 a game. He was able to keep Gibson Jimerson, who's been there for an eternity, which is huge for St. Louis. I just look at St. Louis's roster. I think it's stacked. And I think now you have a really good head coach in Josh Schertz. That's how you say it, right? Schertz?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I look at that. I look at their roster. I think it's loaded. I mean, would they go 32-7 last year and lost in the NIT chip? And they bring in another guy who had a monster year in by keeping Jimerson, you pair him with those two, you got a really good big three, and a big three that's pretty underrated in all of college basketball. So I think I really like St. Louis's roster.
Yeah, yeah. I probably should go SLU, but my boy Posh is at Dayton. Got a lot of boys at Dayton. Shout out Ronnie and the gang.
They do have a good team, actually, looking at this team.
Yeah, Nate Santos, excuse me.
Yeah.
Uh,
They lost a lot, but they picked up the pieces.
yeah. This is also 90% of this pick is basically just going off. I know guys at Dayton, and or that graduated from Dayton, and I just hear about them talking about the team all the time, and I'm buying into the hype. They're big Fire Anthony Grant guys, but
Really?
yeah, big time. But
Why is that? I don't
uh,
watch Dayton basketball, but I mean, they're at the top of the A10 year in and year out. So
they never win the A10 though. That's why, because they're always at the top. They're always contending, but they haven't won the A10. I think since Obi was there in 19.
they didn't even have an A10 tournament that year, too.
Yeah, yeah. So they won the conference, but they didn't win the tournament.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I think that's kind of the big reason is uh,
They don't
not
just don't
not
finish the
winning.
job.
Yeah, not winning A10 championships. Uh, you're getting into the tournament most years, but commonly in like Blues in first round, they won first round this year at least with that miracle comeback. But yeah, I'm going A10 or I'm going Dayton for Posh, I guess. But
Well, I'll tell you what, I think Posh is going to have a big year because, I mean, we saw at least from February on, Posh was Butler's best player, in my opinion. Maybe second best behind Telfort. But him and Telfort were kind of running the show, and Posh really developed a 3-point shot. And if that sticks, he's going to be one of the better players in the A10, I think, no?
yeah, no, he definitely could be that type of guy. Uh, the thing with Posh is just the consistency, not even just on the court, but like just getting a consistent Posh day in and day out is tough. But when he is on and everything, like he's definitely an elite player, especially in the A10 level. I mean, he was the steals leader in the Big East 4 years in a row. Like he's just an insane defense, like quick hands, and he'll gamble a little bit, which will frustrate you from time to time. But and if he keeps improving his shot,
Yeah.
sky's the limit for him. But
Oh, yeah. And you're going down in competition.
yeah,
Against a better conference.
yeah.
So it's also going to be very interesting. I want to stay on the subject of Dayton. Malachi Smith. Now he was hurt all of last year. I believe he tore his ACL. He was kind of supposed to go into that season last year as the guy, like ahead of Deron Holmes. So it's always questionable coming off a torn ACL. But if he is even a shell of what he's supposed to be from last year, him and Posh with Nate Santos back, Zed Key, that could be a very dangerous Dayton team. I know I rolled with St. Louis, but I'm starting to look at this roster more and I'm starting to love it more. I think it's going to be a multi-bid A10.
Yeah, I think it definitely can be. I think you got VCU's up there
VCU's
in the
good
league.
too.
Could be a pretty good team. So yeah, I think the A10 could be pretty solid. Not gonna lie to you and say have a whole lot of information on the A10, but we tried to we tried to do research on 5 conferences today in the span of like an hour and a half. So
Yeah, sorry,
it's
Link. We didn't bring our A games today.
didn't bring the A game today, but let's move on to the American. Unless you got anything else on the A10.
I'll just finish with this. I think the A10 is going to get 2 teams. I think they're going to get 3 teams because they're always
Yeah,
going to have a bid stealer.
I'll
I
go
think they're going to
3.
get 2 auto bids and a bid stealer because they always have one.
Yeah, I'd say SLU, VCU, and Dayton. I think are 3 teams that could definitely make the tournament. So maybe they sneak to 4
I
with
could
an
see
auto.
like a George Mason or something like that stealing a bid, maybe like a St. Bonaventure with Woj, with
shout,
Woj running the show.
shout out Woj.
Shout out Woj. Yeah.
I did forget we got all these picks from Adam as well. I'll go off the list of what he's got of what we've done so far. So for the Mountain West, he had Nevada. Valley, he had Bradley, of course. And then the A10, he had VCU. And now moving to the American, he had UAB. I have UAB. Mikey, who do you have?
I have Florida Atlantic. I like Florida Atlantic. I know they got a new coach. I know they lost everyone. A lot of international talent coming into Florida Atlantic. I think just watching international talent play the college game, I love it. I think they play the game so well. Like fundamentals are down. They're going to run a good offense. I like the coach they got. I forget where exactly he's from, but he was an assistant at Baylor, right?
Yeah.
What was his name? God. No, but I like the coach. You know what? No one's gonna listen to this, so it's fine. Let's just have fun.
Yeah, fuck it. Yeah, dysfunction in Memphis. Memphis has gone to
this podcast.
segueing from the dysfunction of this podcast to the dysfunction of Memphis. They fired like 4 assistants like 2 weeks ago or something.
Crazy. How do you like have NCAA violations now? Like that whole NIL system is basically an NCAA violation. How do you still mess it up?
How did you find a way to illegally pay people
In this system?
Once it was legal? I don't know.
The assistant must have just like wrote a check or something. Like
it had to be like a McDonald's bag. Like
yeah,
that's like
cash.
That's like the only thing that's illegal anymore. But yeah, so dysfunction in Memphis. I got UAB.
Yeah, I think this might be the last year of Penny Hardaway too, while we're on the subject.
Yeah. I mean, it's just not a great league overall either. Just not a lot of talent in the league. I don't really know why I decided to do a preview of the American, but
does anyone really like people there's passion behind the Missouri Valley and the Mountain West, and
no one cares about the American.
The American, no one gives a damn. They care about football anyways. Even the people who run the American don't really care. They care about football.
Yeah, I mean, you had a couple teams who were in the Big East. Like when the American formed, it was like the non-Catholic schools in the Big East, and then just some other like random teams that they punched from like Conference USA.
Yeah.
So it's like there's just, I mean, they had UConn for a little bit, which I think gave them some juice in basketball, especially. But
yeah,
and then
UConn fell off.
UConn goes there, and then they're just like not good.
And yeah, we've turned in this preview into just shitting on the American Conference.
Yeah, pretty much.
What are you gonna do? Be better.
Yeah. So UAB for me, UAB for Adam, and FAU for you, Mikey. We got our dark horse mid-major. So from
I wish we just did this. I'm so prepared for these dark horses.
Go ahead then.
No. I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry.
No. That was about all the intro I had for it. What's your?
All right, let's get into it.
Get some mid-major dark horses. How many do you have?
I have 3, but I'll just do one that I've been hyping up. I don't even know if they're a dark horse. I think they're just freaking good. Grand Canyon. They kept Bryce Drew. who's a very good head coach, and they kept so much talent that was on this roster last year that almost beat an Alabama team that almost beat UConn. Like Grand Canyon was a few possessions away from getting to the Sweet 16. They played a really tough game with Alabama. They beat the crap out of St. Mary's. They won 30 games last year out of the WAC. I know the WAC isn't a power conference by any means, but they return Tyon Grant Foster, which I had to do a double take when I saw that. I couldn't believe he's still there. They returned Ray Harrison, who I think won Defensive Player of the Year in the WAC. They added Jacoby Coles, who averaged 10 points a game in the Big 12. So, like,
Former
going to
dog.
the WAC could be a huge jump in production. And they kept, like, 3 other rotational players. So, I look at this Grand Canyon team. I'm like, this is, like, looking at that team, that's definitely a top 30 roster in all of college basketball, in my opinion.
Yeah, the Lopes, they got something cooking in Phoenix. I don't know what happened, but like within the last 10 years or so, that program's just sprouted out of nowhere, and
They
now
might.
it's a consistent team in not only the WAC, but like it's 2 tournament appearances
Tournaments.
in the last couple of years.
Win.
I mean, they got like they are a good program. Bryce Drew, I feel like he might be one of those guys that's kind of like he did the Power 5, and like I'm sure he'll go back there at some point. But it seems like a guy who kind of jumped to get to the Power 5 going from Valpo to Vandy and didn't really take a great job because like I think he's a good coach, but it's just like it's so hard to be successful at Vanderbilt. And I think now he's kind of in a phase where it's like, all right, I did the Power 5. I know what it's like. I'm not just going to jump at any job. Like, I'm going to wait for a good one. I got a good thing going here at GCU. We got a relatively pretty easy path to making the tournament every year, as long as, like, because the WAC's not a great comp. It's got some good.
It's
like,
not even a very good mid-major.
Yeah, like New Mexico State is solid every once in a while. Like, they've had some years where they've been pretty good. But, I mean, like, the WAC's not a great conference by any means.
No.
So it's like if you keep bringing in the talent you're bringing in, like you can pretty much almost guarantee an NCAA tournament appearance every year. So why leave that for a job that isn't great? Like if he were to get something in the Vanderbilt type category of like I don't know, like
a decent mid-major that's just or excuse me, not mid-major, a decent Power 5.
Like, yeah. It's just like you got to rebuild everything and start from the ground up again. Like, I think he's just going to take his time, figure all this out, and just keep rolling at GCU.
Yeah, and listen, dude, he's not poor at GCU. He's making plenty of money. Yeah. He's in a nice. He's right near Grand Canyon. Like Arizona's beautiful, so like that's not a problem. He's not in the middle of Nebraska, and they win consistently. And I'll tell you this, if they have another really good year, like they're looking to expand the WCC a little bit, I could see Grand Canyon maybe trying to get in that conference. I mean, they have a good year. I mean, they could be like a team that would be or they might be a team that could earn an outright bid. What?
GCU's going to the WCC next year.
That's confirmed?
I think so. I'm like 99% sure.
I thought that was just like a rumor. I didn't know they were going.
We need a research department for this.
We did nothing.
I'm like 99% sure that they are already confirmed going to the WCC.
This is on me. Like this.
I was gonna let you roll, and then I just couldn't stop laughing. But yeah, they are. I will confirm.
They're definitely going. I thought like everyone was rumored that they were going. Let's see. We're doing live research. We're recording. Yep. Yeah. They're going.
May 10th, 2024. GCU accepts invite to West Coast Conference.
All right. So, yeah, I'm excited to see GCU play Gonzaga twice a year. I think that's going to be electric atmosphere. Also, like GCU's fans, they travel, they make
habits.
Yeah, they deserve to have some good games against solid opponents in there. They'll play St. Mary's twice. They'll play Gonzaga twice. Like San Francisco's been all right in the previous years. Like they'll get better games, which is good. They deserve it.
You know what this makes me think of?
What?
I fucking wish BYU was still in the West Coast Conference.
Oh yeah, then another game against BYU in the WCC.
Like I get it. I get their football going up to the Big 12 and everything, but if you added Grand Canyon into that conference and then you got four, like you got Gonzaga and then you got three really good mid-major teams that can just kind of chomp at them at Gonzaga all the time. I think that'd be exciting. But
I agree. I think BYU walks so that Grand Canyon can run. But yeah, but anyways, I'm going with the Lopes. I think they have an absolutely loaded roster. Like I think that's a top 30 roster in all of college basketball.
Well, Adam went with Wright State.
I don't know a thing.
I'm not even gonna pretend. Not even gonna pretend. But I did do a little research. My dark horse comes from the Colonial Athletic Association. A new coach. We talked about a coach going from mid-major to Power 5 back to mid-major. I got another one, mid-major Power 5. Took a couple years off, back to a mid-major. Going with the College of Charleston. Chris Mack comes back after a couple years away. They only bring back one starter, Ante Brzovic, but he is supposed to be a first-team CAA guy, maybe even Player of the Year type caliber player. You got a few unproven guys, C.J. Fulton, Evan Kilminster, guards that are kind of expected to take that leap, going from rotational guys to guys that you can really count on in the starting lineup and fill those types of roles. And they brought in 7 transfers after Pat Kelsey left, kind of headlined by guard Darren Boyd from Lipscomb, who averaged 18 a game. So got a really good backcourt. You got Brzovic as your kind of main front court guy. So I like the Cougars. I don't think they miss a beat going from Kelsey to Mack.
You know, it's funny you say that because I could see that situation kind of turning into a Bryce Drew situation.
Because College of Charleston, underrated, has a lot of money, I've learned.
Really?
And like,
but where does that money go? That goes towards basketball? So they can pay kids some NIL?
Yeah, like one of the underrated mid-major NIL programs.
Really?
But yeah,
Who'd you learn that from?
I don't remember. Heard it like middle of the year last year.
Tyler Scurry. He's in Charleston.
Probably saw it on Twitter somewhere or something. I think Trilly said it or something. I don't know. But I did hear that, and I think that's, like you said, I think this could turn into a Bryce Drew type spot where Mac goes down there and just eats up the CAA, and like is a team that consistently makes, like, from that league, if you can make the tournament like 3 out of 5 years, you get a statue because of how hard it is to make the NCAA tournament. Because you can go like 20-0 in your conference at that level, and if you don't
basketball game and you're not in.
Yeah, and if you don't win the conference tournament, there's a solid chance that you don't make it.
Yeah, you had to go like 31-3 and have a couple decent wins. Like,
yeah,
you have to be like a 31-win team to make the tournament without winning your conference.
Yeah. So, but I think that could be a good role or a good spot for him.
Who knows? Maybe he builds up Charleston a little bit. They join the Big East. Who knows nowadays with conference realignment, you know? You never know what the future holds. Who would have thought GCU would be in the WCC 5 years ago?
Yeah, UConn leaves to go to the Big 12, so let's bring in College of Charleston. See how that goes over.
They'll take your UConn and they'll raise you a Dayton.
That's what I want. I want Dayton.
Yeah, that would be a good get for the Big East.
Yeah.
But, I really love Gonzaga, but That's not going to happen.
That would be great. Like I said, I just think that's a Dobo's worst nightmare if Gonzaga joins the Big East. But
I mean, think about like if you're like a cross country kid at Gonzaga.
Yeah.
You're going across the country to run for 30 minutes and you're going home.
That's a great way to put it. Should we go to the SEC?
I mean, it's true though. No?
I guess, yeah. Should we go to the SEC?
Yeah, I think it's that time.
All right, we do. I have a little bit of research on this, but
I got some research.
Alabama, Final Four last year, lost a close one to UConn in the Final Four. Really, the only one to even compete with them.
Yeah.
In the whole tournament. Shout out that 30-0 run that they went on against Illinois. That was great. That UConn went on, but Alabama, like the only team that really competed with UConn, bring back 2 starters from that team. Mark Sears, who might be like a Naismith type player. Like they're projected to be number 1 in the country with the first AP poll coming out. Bring back Grant Nelson, the transfer from North Dakota State, sharpshooter, 4, kind of like a poor man's Dalton Connect, but still pretty good, athletic, lanky 4 that can shoot the ball. Hit the portal pretty good. They brought in Chris Youngblood, a guard from USF, averaged 15 a game on 42% from 3. Clifford Amourier from Rutgers gives them a really good rim protector. Starting there, and Aiden Holloway makes the jump from rival Auburn to Alabama. So this is kind of similar to previous UConn teams in a way that I feel like, where you have these roles designated, and like they didn't, I guess they did hit the portal a little bit, but they're also kind of just like taking guys and trying to fill roles, like fill that Aaron Estrada role. Blanking on the big man's name from last year.
Is it Rylan Griffin?
He was a wing.
Oh, Byron Pringle?
Yeah,
Nick
Pringle.
Nick
Nick Pringle.
Not Byron Pringle. Isn't he a cornerback or something?
I think so.
Yeah, Nick Pringle.
Nick Pringle. Yeah. So fill that with Amourier. So you do hit the portal a little bit, but you're also just like kind of having guys who played rotational pieces, who were rotational pieces last year, kind of step into bigger roles this year. So I mean, Mark Sears is really good. Grant Nelson's really good, but I was a little surprised to see in this Blue Ribbon yearbook that they were number 1. I thought that they were like a top 5, top 10 team. 1 kind of surprised me a little bit, but I not to say that I don't think they're going to be good. I think they're going to be very good, but yeah, there's Alabama. You got anything on the Tide?
I mean, they're stacked.
Yeah.
Mark Sears was one of the best players in college basketball last year. He's back. Grant Nelson really kind of turned up in the tournament. He's back. And they got some pretty damn good transfers. I mean, like Chris Youngblood was the leading scorer on a South Florida team that was first in the American. I know he kind of just crapped on the conference, but he was first in the American and took a really good leap. Because actually he was at Kennesaw State and then went to South Florida, and now he finds himself at Alabama. So really good journey for him, and he's a really good player. Yeah, I agree. I think they didn't. I feel like Kansas, and I know we're not talking about the SEC right now, but like you look at a team like Kansas, they just tried to get the best possible transfers, while Alabama took more of a UConn approach. Like, let's get a good 2 that's like 3-and-D. Let's get this guy who can block shots, and
they fit roles more so than just acquiring talent.
So I agree. I really like Alabama's team. And listen, you keep Mark Sears and Grant Nelson from the team last year, you're going to be a top 5 team in the country. I mean, they have to be the team to beat in the SEC, in my opinion. I mean, just based off looking at the roster, that team's stacked.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Nate Oates is a great coach too. So
Yeah, I think he's really good. I'm excited. Illinois plays them in Birmingham this year. I think that will be a fun game. I'm hoping.
high scoring.
I- Very high scoring.
Very high scoring.
Nate Oates kind of not the originator, but very much so kind of brought that threes and layups only into college basketball, but more so really emphasizes it a lot more than I think a lot of other coaches do. Like if you look at an Alabama shot chart, it's almost like only threes and layups. Whereas like I know like every coach preaches that now, but you just don't see it. Like you see plenty of mid range in there of just like I don't know, like they just didn't get through to players about it or something. And uh, Johnny still thinks that two dribble pull up from the elbow fading away is a great shot, uh, but not Alabama. Alabama's got that pretty down pat. I'm kind of looking.
That's Mark Steer's game. 3-pointers and getting to the hoop and getting layups.
Yeah. Looking at their non-conference, they go to Purdue, go to West Lafayette early. Their fourth game, uh, got Illinois. They're in that Players Era Festival thing. I think that's one of the NIL.
Yeah, that's
tournaments.
the NIL tournament, right?
Yeah.
You're
So
in
they
that.
got Houston there, and they got Rutgers there.
When is that? That's during Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
That's feast week? Not
Yeah.
feast week, but kind
And
of.
Notre Dame, they got so they go to Purdue and they go to North Carolina. Creighton comes to them. They're not hiding in the non-conference at all. So we're gonna know if Alabama is for real again pretty quick, and I think they will be. But two big road games, a couple big neutral site games. I think what would that be like 7 of their 11? I think is what it was. Games were non-conference games were against Power Five, so uh, they loaded up the schedule, and it's going to be fun to see. But
Yeah, they're not shy. They did that last year too. They loaded up their non-conference, and they only like came out of it like 7-5. But
yeah. Anything else on Bama?
no, I mean we'll get into who we think's going to win the SEC a little later on. But no, I got nothing else on Bama.
All right. Well, I'll move on to Texas A&M real quick. They lose. They had that great backcourt last year with Wade Taylor the fourth and Tyrese Radford. Radford's gone now. Julius Marble, a good big off the bench for them, is gone now. They do bring back Wade Taylor the fourth. Henry Coleman the third is back. So that's another team that
Family names are back.
the family names are back. I think the A&M could be a pretty good team this year. I think like obviously Wade Taylor is a All-American caliber player. Kind of struggled at points last year. I think he had a lot of hype to him, and it took him a little bit of time to settle in towards the start of the year. But he ended up being a great player last year. Going to be a great player again this year. Buzz Williams really got that program going again.
Oh yeah. Good year for them last year. A little disappointing because they probably had like top 20 expectations. They made the tournament, which was good, but little disappointing for them. Obviously, Wade Taylor's one of the best guards in the country. I would say he's top 10 guard in college basketball. And he flirted with the portal, and then I think he decided to come back. Right? Didn't he enter the portal like unofficially, and then he came back like pretty quickly?
I can't remember if he officially did or not, but I do feel like I remember hearing that he was going to leave
Yeah,
and then ends up staying.
from anonymous source. That we'll
Trilly.
go into detail about. Yeah, fucking Trilly.
Trilly.
Um, Yeah, no, but I think this is a good team. I don't think they're a top 4 team, top 5 team in the SEC, but I do think they're gonna go back to the tournament. I just think they lost a lot. I know they got Wade Taylor back, but I it's a good team, the tournament team. It's not a Final Four team, in my opinion, from what I'm looking at.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now too. We'll see. I mean, obviously guards win in March, and you got one of the best in the country in Wade Taylor.
Yeah.
So who knows? But that's
It's
kind of
it's
where I'm at.
always good to go into a game the best player on your side. Like, you have the best player on the floor most games you play, I would say.
Yeah,
Minus a few, but most games you play, you're gonna have the best player on the floor, and that's always a good thing.
yeah. Moving on to Tennessee real quick. They lose 4 starters. Adu, Vescovi, Josiah Jordan James, Dalton Connect being the big one there. Vescovi, I think, is an underrated loss. But they do bring back Zakai Ziegler. Zakai's been a guy that I've loved since he was a freshman. I thought he was just awesome. I thought he reminded me of like old school Big East point guards with the way that he defends, the way he runs an offense, particularly the way that he can't really shoot that well, and that he has cornrows. That that reminded me a lot of like old Big East point guards.
Oh, yeah. What was his name on Pitt? Something Fields.
Yeah, I
Was
can't
it Lawrence Fields?
maybe.
We gotta I don't know, I gotta look at that. But he kinda gives off that similar vibe, like short point guard, defender, gritty, can't shoot. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Cornrows.
what'd you say?
I said he had cornrows too.
You
But
gotta have the cornrows if you want to be a Big East point guard. But
yeah,
yeah, they bring back Sakai. Uh, I'm excited about him. I think he's going to be really good. Chaz Lanier uh, comes from North Florida. I think he came from North Florida. I think he's going to be another guy that kind of takes a leap, takes over that Vescovi role. I think you're going to talk about him a little later. But
yeah.
uh, they finally won the SEC last year. Rick Barnes, known for having great teams that end up uh, struggling towards the end of the year. They won the SEC, didn't win the tournament, but got to the Elite Eight. Um, so I went all in on Tennessee last year. I might do it again this year. You just don't know, but I like Tennessee's team this year.
Listen, I'll never bet against the Rick Barnes team. They defend well, and he's got his almost his glue guy back in Zakai Ziegler. Like Zakai, he was on the verge of being like the defensive player of the year 2 years ago before he got that torn ACL, and that kind of put a damper on things for Tennessee's season. I think he's going to be great. I think he's going to come off that ACL. I mean, obviously he played towards the end of the year last year and was pretty solid. Still needed to like get his feet wet. I think he's going to pick up where he left off 2 years ago and take that leap towards like defensive player of the year in the SEC and like a guy who puts up 15 a game. I think Jemai Meshack is going to take a big leap and is going to be more productive offensively. Obviously, we saw how good of a defender he was last year, but I think he's going to be very good offensively this year. I could see him averaging double figures and being a threat to score like 15 to 20 a game. And then finally, I know I'm talking a lot about Tennessee, but I do like this team. I like them to finish top 4. You said Chaz Lanier. Is that how you say it? Is it?
Linear, something like that.
Yeah, whatever. He's going. You said he'll probably fill in the shoes of Santiago Vescovi. I can see him filling in the shoes of Dalton Connect. Maybe not to the degree that Dalton Connect was producing offensively, but I can see him kind of being this guy who put up 18 or 19 a game at a non-power 5 school, a very weak mid-major, and like coming in and just like blowing away everyone's expectations. Maybe I'm a little fooled by that just because Dalton Connect was like a freak but I can see Lanier doing the same thing.
Yeah,
A
and
lot of similarities, 20 points a game at North Florida. I think Connect was like 21 at Northern Colorado. So both coming into Tennessee as high scorers with teams that really didn't have that go-to guy offensively. So that's where my mind's at.
Yeah, and they also bring in Felix Okpara from Ohio State, talented big that really got going towards the end of last year. Ohio State thought they were going to keep him. Ends up going down to Tennessee, takes over that Jonas Adu role as the big man. Uh, I'll say it right now, and Adam agrees with me. I'm going Tennessee to run it back. I know Alabama's really good.
Wow.
I know A&M's really good. We'll get to Arkansas and Kentucky in a second, but going Tennessee to run it back. I said it last year, and I'm sticking to it again this year. Picking Tennessee, but yeah. Anything else on the Vols before we get into the John Calipari saga?
No, I mean, I don't think it's a bad bet to take a Rick Barnes team. They're going to be right at the top. They are every year. So,
All right. Well, move on to Arkansas. Arkansas, obviously, we talked about a couple weeks ago, bringing Cal in. I believe they only brought back one player, I think, like
they
overall.
brought back Trevon Brazil.
Yeah, they brought. There's something like when Cal was doing his press conference, he was like, "I went to talk to the team, and there was only one guy, so we have no team right now."
That's right. I forgot about that.
But they brought in a lot of transfers. Tremont Mark, they lose. Devontae Davis, they lost. Ella Ellis, a team that really, really underperformed last year. Part of why Muss is at USC right now and Cal's in there instead. Just kind of a upsetting result to the expectations they had last year. And they pretty much got a brand new team this year. DJ Wagner from Kentucky, John L. Davis from FAU, Jonas Adu, the Tennessee transfer, goes to Arkansas. Trayvon Brazil, like you mentioned, Adu Thiero from Kentucky, bringing a lot of Kentucky guys. They got Big Z, right? Yeah, Zvonimir Ivicic.
Yep.
But yeah, they bring in a lot of transfers, especially from Kentucky. Cal brought a lot of guys over with them. I'm interested to kind of see how this team goes with having, like, obviously they have expectations, but it's not Kentucky level pressure because they don't bring back everyone. They don't bring back Dillingham. They don't bring back the white kid, Reed Shepherd. Yeah. Well, I guess not that they don't bring back, that they don't come to Arkansas from Kentucky.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this Arkansas team is very talented. Obviously, had a lot of. We talked about dysfunction on this podcast. We talked about dysfunction in Memphis. A lot of dysfunction in Arkansas last season.
A lot of rumors outside of the court too that we're not going to discuss, but
yeah,
look them up.
Shout out Trilly for letting us know about that too.
That was a Trilly bomb. I thought that just it was like a rumor that was kind of true, kind of not true. I don't know.
I don't remember. this thing's gone off the rails quick.
Oh yeah. But Trilly did keep us locked in for that Coach Cal news going to Arkansas.
Yeah.
I remember reading that on the Discord, and he was like, "There's actually some smoke to it." I was like, "That's wow, holy shit,
yeah,
that might happen," and it did.
Yeah, it did. So yeah, I think Arkansas is going to be a good team this year. Kentucky is going to be interesting. Pope comes in, you kind of get a culture change there, where you go from Cal and like the sleaziness and the one and done and the bag dropping and everything, and now you bring in the old Kentucky boy Pope won a national championship with them as a player. He comes in talking about how he wants guys being at Kentucky for 4 years, how he wants the Kentucky jersey to mean something again, and everything like that, and not just a straight path to the NBA. Uh, so
A
it's
little late for that party.
yeah, two teams that are kind of going in opposite, or two programs, I should say, going in opposite directions. Uh, but yeah, with Kentucky, they bring in Lamont Butler from San Diego State, who was an elite level player. Kobe Bray from Dayton, elite shooter. Uh, Kirk Risa, forgot about that.
Forgot about his existence, but he's back. It is like what, fourth team? Is it only his?
Third.
It's only his third.
He did like half a year with West Virginia last year because he was like an academically ineligible, or there was something with NIL that was a little shady or something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but
Yeah.
yeah, I did not remember he was with Kentucky until right now. But
All right. Yeah. No,
yeah,
I mean,
anything on Arkansas and Kentucky?
yeah. I'm curious to see because I remember 2 years ago, and we talked about this a couple of years ago. I think we talked about it in the empty gym last year about Coach Cal and transfers versus Coach Cal and getting like star freshmen.
Yeah, because he went in that phase once the portal
Yeah,
started where it was all transfers. He got Sheway, got Frederick from Iowa, got Antonio
Antonio
Reeves from Illinois
Reeves.
State.
Yep.
Illinois State. Like he had some freshmen still, but he went like drastic change to like all transfers basically.
He's kind of back to that now, and that didn't really work. You know, they underperformed pretty much the entire year. Maybe there was other stuff involved with it. I mean, can you really like point to it not being freshmen instead of transfers and be like, oh, that's the reason Cal wasn't successful? Who knows exactly why? But I'm curious to see how he does with pretty much a team full of transfers. I mean, they had one returner. They have a couple like solid prospects coming in, like a few 4 stars, but no one like they don't have like because they're used to having like the 1, 2, and 7 guy coming in.
Yeah.
This year they're led by John L. Davis and Jonas Adu. Those are probably their two guys, and maybe DJ Wagner too. We'll see the leap he takes. But I'm curious to see how Cal does with a team pretty much full of transfers again. And as for Kentucky, he's talking about, like how he wants guys to play there for multiple years. This is an entirely new team. Like no one stayed. I mean, Calipari said he had a meeting with the team. One guy stayed. Mark Pope didn't have a meeting because there was no guys on the team. So he's bringing in a ton of transfers, a ton of talent, but a lot of transfers. I really like Kobe Bree in Mark Pope's offense. I mean, a guy shot like 50% from three the entire season. Like, that's ridiculous. If they can find a way to get him 10 3-point shots a game, Kentucky's going to be good.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it that way.
Yeah, for sure. Do we want to just get to some superlatives and get out of here?
Sure.
All right. So I said
I feel like I've settled in. I feel good now. I mean, I don't know where the hell that was the first 20 minutes of the podcast, but it's all right.
Yeah. So like I said, Adam's got his SEC champ as Tennessee. I have mine as Tennessee. Mikey, who is your SEC champ this year?
I'm going to go with the Tide. I love the Tide. I know I said don't bet against Rick Barnes, but they'll finish second. So I'll go Bama 1, Tennessee 2.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to bet against that. I mean,
I also feel like Alabama kind of turns up in conference play. Like they don't always have the best non-conference, but come conference time, they're always at the top. Like they'll get some good wins.
Yeah, I mean they'll be ready for SEC play.
Oh
based
yeah,
on
they'll
that
have plenty of good
non-conference schedule.
competition under their belt.
Yeah. SEC Player of the Year.
I'll let you start.
I'll give Adams. He had Johnny Broom from Auburn. I'm
I
riding the
didn't
hype.
even think of Auburn. Yeah, they're going to be good too.
Yeah, they're
The
going to be
SEC
good too.
stacked.
Yeah.
It's stacked.
Oh, and by the way, Adam's dark horse from the mid majors, Wright State. I don't know if I mentioned that or
You
not.
did mention that.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I
We don't know a thing,
did. Yeah,
but
I remember now because we didn't know anything about Wright State.
I'm sure Adam has his reasons, but
Yeah. My SEC Player of the Year. I'm going. I'm riding the hype train. I'm going Zakai Ziegler.
wow.
I think you got an experienced guy. I think you got a guy who has his 3-point shot. I know I shit on it a couple minutes ago, but it continues to improve. He's just such a good decision maker and just so smart. And like he was one of the highest IQ players I think in the country as a freshman, and now he's a senior and he just keeps improving, keeps improving, keeps improving. And yeah, I think uh, I think he can be a Player of the Year type guy in the SEC.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a first teamer, and I think he is going to have a really nice season and kind of lead the Vols. This is going to be a surprising one because I think they're all this team. Spoiler, they're also going to be my surprise team, or my sleeper team. I'm going Walter Clayton of Florida. Averaged 18 points per game last year. Put on an absolute clinic in the round of 64 against Colorado. Kid played under Pitino for a year at Iona, transferred to Florida, was extremely productive, extremely underrated last year. He returns being the guy with less guys returning, so he'll get more touches. I think Walter Clayton's going to have a monster year. I think he's going to average 22 to 23 a game. I think he's going to be big time.
There you go.
Yeah.
Walter Clayton.
Clayton.
No
one's talking about him. I think he's going to be a monster. He is a monster.
I think so too.
Disagree, so that's good.
SEC Coach of the Year.
Who
you got?
No, you start.
All right. Alabama or Adam went chalk with Alabama head coach Nate Oates. I can live with that, but I'm gonna go, and this will parlay into my dark horse sleeper team. I'm going Chris Beard.
Yeah.
Maybe not a great guy. We don't know for sure. Charges were dropped. So we don't know for sure about a great guy. That's still up in the air. Good coach though. And
he is a hell of a coach. He knows how to put a good team together. They do have a good team.
Yeah, bring back Matthew Morrell, average 16 a game on 46% from three. You got veteran guys coming back. Senior forward Jamin Brakefield, 13 a game last year. Senior guard Juju Murray, 14 a game, 4 assists a game. So like I said, they're also my dark horse surprise team. But I think Beard's a guy that he is a guy that is hungry for the Power 4, Power 5, and not at the Ole Miss level. So I think he's a guy that wants to get back to. I know Texas coming into the SEC. We'll see how that works and everything, but he's a guy that wants to get back to a Texas type level, get to a blue blood type level, and he's kind of taking his lumps right now after everything that happened and going to Ole Miss. Like took the rest of, or obviously was kicked out for that rest of the year. And comes to Ole Miss, kind of under the radar. No one's really talking about it and everything, and. I'm not saying Ole Miss is going to win the SEC by any means, but I think they could be a team that makes the tournament, plays a lot better than they should be, outplays rankings, outplays projections, stuff like that. And I think Ole Miss is going to be not a contender in the SEC, but top half of the league team, tournament team type team. And I think doing that at Ole Miss warrants being Coach of the Year. So I'm going Chris Beard for my Coach of the Year, and I'll just say it now, Ole Miss for my sleeper, dark horse.
Yeah, I mean I like both those picks. I am going to go with Mike White of Georgia. I think Georgia's going to sneak into the tournament. I think they have a lot of returning talent, and I think Mike White's going to win Coach of the Year. Like Georgia has a pretty good roster. They returned some good talent. They returned a couple guys who averaged double figures. They added Dakota LeFew from Mount St. Mary's, who was a very highly touted transfer, who Nova was in on, Syracuse was in on. A lot of really good programs like really wanted this guy to run their offense. And Georgia wound up getting him. So I think Georgia's going to be a really good team. Again, they're not going to be a contender in the SEC, but I do think they'll finish like 8th. And I think 8th in the SEC is going to get you to the NCAA tournament. So I'm going to go with Mike White. I think he's got a really good team. I mean, he's got a ton of talent coming in. So he's actually got a 5-star coming in, and Asa Noel, who's ranked 12th nationally. So he's got a lot of good guys coming in. He returned a couple solid pieces. Give me Mike White, Georgia Bulldogs, back to the NCAA tournament.
There you go. And your dark horse team?
Florida. Florida was my dark horse. I think
the
SEC. I think they'll be top 3.
Top 3?
Yeah, I like Clayton. Will Richards back. Condon's back. They got like a 7'5" guy from Washington State. I like Elijah Martin fitting into that offense. All in on the Gators.
There you go. Adams was Kentucky. Going real chalk with that one too.
I don't know how much of a sleeper that is, but
yeah.
You know.
Your disappointing team.
Marks. My disappointing team is Texas. I think nothing really impressed me about Texas last year, and they lost a lot of talent. They didn't really bring in. I was looking at their roster. I just wasn't blown away by the talent they brought in. Like Kaluma's good, Tremont Mark's good. You know, they have. I mean, Trey Johnson's a 5-star, but there's just I don't know. They didn't really keep a lot. They didn't really add anyone that was really sexy to the eye. I think they're going to struggle in the SEC. I really do. I'm not crazy about Texas.
I mean, it is obviously we're in this new world of a bunch of conference realignment and everything. And it is kind of interesting to see.
Just not crazy
like,
about
see how like we have this like in football it makes a little bit more sense and everything like that. Basketball it'll be kind of interesting to see how they make that transition to, I mean, not to diss on the Big 12 or anything, because the Big 12 is an elite conference, obviously, but it will be interesting to kind of see how they transition there into.
What do you think of Rodney Terry? I know a lot of Texas fans are not crazy about him.
He came into a tough situation, obviously, like we talked about.
Did a good job. Got to give him
did
that.
a good job. Got the full-time job out of that. How much was that just the players?
Yeah,
that year.
I know. It also kind of just reminds me of a situation where you hire a new coach who was like maybe an assistant under a head coach, and like he does well with other, like, not to pick on the guy, but Laval Jordan, like he did pretty well with talent that was recruited by other guys. Once he lost that talent, there wasn't really much to show for it. You know, I feel like that could be the situation with Rodney Terry.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, like you said, it's especially in this era, like you lose that you can lose that talent so quickly, because if a player doesn't like you, they're gone. Like that's just how it goes now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't hate that pick at all. I kind of struggled.
My lights went out. My bad. Hold on. Bear with me, Jack Hobson.
Yeah, take your time.
We don't have a producer to plug in my laptop, so that's the job for the talent.
Yeah. My disappointing team, I was gonna say Florida at first, and then you kind of talked me into them. So now I'm kind of wanting to change a little bit.
Florida, man, you don't like Florida? That roster's good.
Yeah, I just I thought they had like good players and stuff, but I thought they lacked like star power. And maybe Clayton turns into that and everything. Like maybe he turns into an SEC star, but at first I just felt like I mean you got Elijah Martin too, like he's a good player, but I felt like that team just lacked like a star on it. And like you said, maybe Walter Clayton turns into that. I mean, you got him as your SEC Player of the Year, so uh, you definitely could turn into that, and could I don't fucking know, dude. My brain's mush right now, so I'm just gonna go with give me Auburn. I hate Bruce Pearl.
Yeah, everyone hates Bruce Pearl. What? I don't get it. Why do people hate Bruce Pearl?
Goes back a long, long way, Mike. Back when he was an assistant at the University of Iowa.
Oh,
Tried to ruin the University of Illinois program. So for that, fuck it. I'm gonna go Auburn as my disappointing team because I hope they disappoint me. Like I want that. I'm looking forward to them disappointing me and not playing up to that uh, top 10 ranking that they'll probably get, top 15, something like that.
we didn't really talk about Auburn a lot, but I mean, they're returning Janai Broom
Yeah.
and some other talent. Lost a lot. That Yale game kind of just broke them up.
Yeah.
That was the end of Katie Johnson. That game
Oh yeah.
was the death of Katie Johnson's Auburn career.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
Remember that? Yeah. You know where he's at right now? George Mason.
You serious?
Yeah, he transferred to George Mason.
Well, that's not good.
Kind of a downgrade.
Yeah. We'll wrap it up. We need to wrap it up. This has been ugly, but
Yeah, it's been ugly, but honestly, I feel like we're catching a second wind here. I think
yeah. I think when we get back to being able to preview one conference at a time, it'll be better.
the Big East, I'm gonna be ready.
Yeah, Big East will be prepped for.
Listen, man, mid majors. What are you gonna do? You know, like I know a few of them. That's it.
Yeah.
Few teams that I like. That's all I can give you.
Yeah.
Go
We'll wrap it up
look at
with
John Rothstein's page if you want something good.
yeah, go
If you
on.
want guys who just like ball and like to have fun, drink a couple beers, like this is your place. So you decide, motherfucker.
Breakout player of the year. Adam was gonna take someone, and then you went at him in the group chat saying he was yours.
Oh yeah,
So
I went a completely different direction. No, Adam wanted Chris Lanier
yeah,
from Tennessee, and I went
Chaz.
no, it's Chaz.
I think.
Yeah, Adam can have him.
Okay.
I don't even know the kid's first name.
Chaz Lanier from Tennessee. Adam's gonna listen to this and just be like, "What the fuck happened?"
Yeah, dysfunction without Adam.
I mean, the notes page was bad enough. The Google Doc was bad enough. I'm gonna go Cliff Amorier. Not to say he wasn't good at Rutgers, he was good, but I think being on a better team with Alabama, he's gonna really showcase his talent to the country and be an elite rim protector for them. Be a good. He's pretty good back to the basket. Great rim runner and everything. But yeah, give me Cliff Amorier for my breakout player of the year in the SEC.
I like that. Good pick.
Do you have a pick?
Oh no. I was thinking mine was Walter Clayton, but it's not. That's my player of the year. My breakout player of the year. I don't really have a pick.
Do you want Chaz Lanier?
Yeah, I'll take him.
All right, so Adam goes back to Trey Johnson.
Trey Johnson. Johnson.
Okay, so this
You know
was
what's funny too? This was my idea to do the breakout player of the year.
yeah. But yeah. All right, so little
What a disaster.
we had to get one out, and this is what happens when you force a pod that you weren't ready for. Uh but yeah, some news happened like last week. Gonzaga and Baylor finalizing a deal to play night one of the college basketball season. We've seen a lot of games early on in the year that have been good, usually like maybe that first weekend or early in the second week or second weekend. And then obviously you got feast week and everything after that.
Mhm.
Shortly after that, Gonzaga Baylor going up against each other day one, first game and everything. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, that'll be a great game. Usually don't get a game like that.
I'm
Except one year. I remember one year they started off the year with the Champions Classic. How could I
hashtag Champions Classic. Yeah.
hashtag Champions Classic? They started that. I think it was the year Zion came to Duke. I think they did that the opening night of college basketball.
Yeah, they did. They did it.
Get out of Kentucky.
I think didn't they do the aircraft carrier game one year on the first night of the year? Like Michigan State, UNC or something.
Was that the first night of the year, or was that just the first Friday?
That might have just been the first Friday. I don't
But
remember.
yeah, the Carolina. That was the game that was played outside.
Yeah, on the aircraft carrier.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was sick. They couldn't do it. They couldn't keep doing it because the floor was too slippery. Didn't
Yeah.
they do a doubleheader too? I thought it was a doubleheader.
I think one of the years was. That might have been the year, but I think there was one year that they did 2 games on the aircraft carrier.
Oh, wasn't it? It was supposed to be a doubleheader, and then they couldn't play the second game because the floor was just too slippery. I
Yeah,
think that's what happened.
I think so. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't know.
Once
Well,
again, not a great research team here, so
well, so
we're just going off the dome. So
yeah. So speaking of going off the dome, I think ACC is next week. We'll try to get all 3 of us if we can't.
yeah, I mean,
We'll figure it out. But yeah. So thank God we're finally done with this one.
it was an ugly one, but entertaining.
Yeah.
If you somehow listen to more than 5 minutes of this podcast, God bless you. God bless you.
Yeah. For anyone that made it to the end, thank you. I think Mikey, or not Mikey, you're Mikey. Mike Carroll listens to a lot of these, so shout out Mike if you made it to the end.
He'll DM me. He's like, "What do you think about Butler?" Dude, I don't know. I'm just talking here.
Yeah, like
I'm not a pro.
every 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 podcast he just texts me. He's like, so what do you think about Butler, or like, did you guys talk about Butler? And I'll be like, it was our ACC preview. Like, no, I didn't talk about Butler. but but shout out Mike if you made it to the end of this. And then shout out the sex bot in Indonesia.
Yeah, couldn't do it without you. And shout out Link because he'll give this a nice listen.
Yeah, he'll definitely make it to the end.
Hey Link, this is, by the way, don't blame Jack. This is on me. As soon as I chuckled during the Boise State preview because I knew absolutely nothing about Mountain West, all hell broke loose.
See, I thought that was what I could count on you for. I thought you were going to go crazy on the Mountain West, and
I
then
open the Mountain West when they shit the bed in the tournament. To be honest, I put it nicely, but and the Big East got 3 teams, and the Mountain West goes like what 1-6. Not 1-6, but they didn't do well. So I was like, yeah, they suck.
all right. Well, let's wrap this up.
Let's wrap this puppy up.
Thank you everyone for listening, and we'll be back next week with, I believe, the ACC preview. So
Yep.
we'll see you then.
All righty, folks.